Mile High, welcome back to the Merge Media Academy Studios, 5280 Podcast Studio, here for sharing our stories, brought to you by Tribe Recovery Homes. My name is Slim, along with Tomas Hernandez, Nani Al-Jalil, and our guest, Osvaldo, Ozzie, Cabral from Commerce City. And if you're checking in for the first time ever, welcome to Sharing Our Stories. This program is about addiction and recovery. Everybody in this room has dealt with addiction and is in recovery. Tomas runs Tribe Recovery Homes, which is a treatment center here in the Mile High to help people re-entry from jail, rehabilitation, recovery, all the above.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so what's cool about tonight's guest is actually we've got the person that actually runs it. I'm the founder.
This guy runs it. This guy here.
This guy actually.
This guy that before
yeah.
this program started has been a complete knucklehead down the hallway.
Yeah,
you put him in charge of helping people in their recovery.
I put a man that drinks Commerce City water.
Hell yeah! And you know what? Honestly, having met you, Ozzie, I can say there's probably not a better person because I can see all the heart and love that you have. You know, you're just a really genuinely good guy. And I met your friend Aubrey. He came in, a couple of months ago. Yeah, your buddy, your friend, and he spoke really highly about you. So Ozzie, we're honored to have you here as our guest. Why don't you? Normally I ask Tomas what happens at Tribe Recovery Homes, but why don't I ask you? Tell me what your opinion is of what goes on at Tribe Recovery Homes.
You can still ask Tomas. Nah, Tribe Recovery is awesome. It's a family. It's people come out of jail, DOC, they come out of homelessness. They're just broken when they get there, and they're looking for a family, a place to belong. They're looking for support, and we connect them with all of that. We get them jobs, we get them medical care, we get them housing, we get them social assistance. We build a family around them, and then we watch them just grow and turn into these productive members of the social system that we know they all want. So Tribe it's awesome. It's a heart.
It's part of who you are now.
Yeah.
How long
yeah.
have you been
Thanks
there?
to Tomas. I think 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a blur. We've blown up so fast, and we're just so connected. To say that I could no longer say that I run it. I founded it. We are like a living cell. We all play a part. Mm-hmm. There's no way that one person can run Tribe. There's no possible way. The way it's become, it's like when people say that they want to create a community. Like you can't just like go out in Aurora and just run Aurora. It's like saying Mayor Kaufman runs Aurora. Impossible. You know what I mean? It's like with our little sub community that we have, everybody plays an intricate part.
Yep.
And everybody's equally important, all the way down how we've created it to people like Jenna that run the housing, to just the simple things that are done daily to the community service people. Yeah. Maurice cooking, to the community service people, picking up and making sure it looks nice out in the front. It's really a cool situation when you come there.
To the neighbor bumming cigarettes.
Yeah, to him calling and telling us that somebody broke in the building again. Hey Tomas, somebody broke in the place again, bro.
We know we've had so many guests here that have been people that are employed with Tribe Recovery, and I think that says it right there.
Yeah.
Is that what's so cool is you employ people that have been in addiction or in recovery. And do you have anybody who isn't? Like, I'm sure there's a couple who have not dealt with addiction in your life directly.
Yeah, so,
But you have so many people that speak from experience.
Well, there isn't anybody everybody has dealt with addiction on some level.
Yeah.
And nobody that hasn't, dealt with an addict or had a family member.
Yeah,
everybody's been touched on some way, and not that type of touched.
Ozzie's in charge.
What he means is everybody, when you work in this type of thing on the interview, usually somebody's going to reveal their heart right to it. Somebody's usually lost a family member, has a family member that's been been touched by addiction. Like, just like our engineer and producer on the show, Daniel, talking with him the other morning about his family members. That's somebody that's been touched by addiction and really important about things that's happening. Our accountants, we have our billers. They don't have any addiction problems themselves, but they work really hard because family members have been touched by it. It's also at the same time we have some people that have degrees that are equally important that we work with that are in the community that don't have that lived experience but are really important and really good at their jobs. So you do need, like, a lot of people have this myth that it's just about lived experience people because we are a peer-to-peer model. You really have to utilize the community on all levels because, like what Ozzie just spoke very eloquently and not so eloquently, it takes a village. You know what I mean, to really get this done. Everybody has their equal importance into this.
And it's awesome to see Tribe Recovery Homes is expanding Mile High. It's been expanding into Las Vegas. Learn more about Tribe Recovery Homes, triberecoveryhomes.com. But what is your official title, Ozzie?
They call me clinical director. I call myself director of clinical services.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and
today,
he's a senior director of clinical services. So now he's a national director.
Senior director of clinical services.
Yeah. So what that means is he watches over Colorado and Nevada.
Well, today, Mile High, our guest is the Senior Director of Clinical Services from Tribe Recovery Homes, Ozzie Cabral, Osvaldo Cabral.
Oh.
And want to thank you for coming in. And we're going to turn this over to you, Mile High. Our guest this morning, Ozzie Cabral from Commerce City.
All right. Yalino Chime. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me here. Just to wrap that up, I just want to say, I really loved what Tomas said, that Tribe is an organism, because it is, and it's this gorilla that has a heartbeat of its own. It's got a higher power of its own, and we're all just there for the ride, which is awesome. But so, I don't know, I just start telling my story. Is that what you want?
Start from the beginning.
Start wherever you feel.
Well, it all started when I was 3. My father wouldn't take me to the circus.
It's always that's the spot.
The infatuation with animals began with spiders. No, not really. No, I don't know. This has been a crazy journey, and it's been an awesome journey, and it's I got clean July 13th of 2000. So I got 23 years, and I still feel very young in my recovery. I still do everything that I did when I first got clean, and I'm really thankful for that. I don't ever want to feel like I got this thing, because I really don't. I'm still pretty sick, You can talk to people that know me, and that I got a lot of issues, but I think, for me, I was this kid who just, pretty similar to a lot of stories. I didn't feel like I belonged, as this young kid, and I went through some trauma as a kid, and I had a dad who drank a lot. My sister is going to get mad at me because I said that, because she's very, very defensive of my father. But I had a dad who drank a lot, and a dad who liked to take it out on me. And I went through a lot of stuff with that, and I think I just was different than his other kids, and so coming out of a trauma, I'm something that a lot of men don't talk about, but I'm a survivor of child sex abuse. I was abused between the ages of 5 and 9, and I think coming out of that, I felt like a big part of me was taken away. It was like this manhood was robbed from me, and I really didn't know. I just didn't belong, and I hated, at 9, I hated myself, and so it was real easy to start smoking some weed at 11, you know? And I remember getting high and thinking, holy crap, man, I love this stuff, you know? Because it changed, and I laughed, and I smiled, and, you know, and I made some friends that way. And from 11, you know, there was this girl who lived across the street from me, across the street, 2 houses down from my mom's house, and she was my age, so we were 12, and she looked like she was about 14, 15, and so there was a guy that was 16, and she was telling him that she was 15, and he started dating, he started giving her Coke, and you know, and then she would give it to me, and we just started using a lot of Coke at 12. You know, at that time I was just snorting it, but we were using a lot of Coke, and then he found out her age, and we were about 13 years old then, and so he like freaked out, left, and so here we were, these kids who were smoking weed and doing a shitload of Coke, and so we went looking for some Coke, and we found meth, you know, and that was at 13, and so we started using that, and well, and backing up a little bit, I had family members who who were manufacturing up in Kelly, and you know, I kind of carried a little bit of stuff here and there between family members when I was just growing up. You know, I didn't know what I was doing, but I did it, and so I was kind of already introduced into that kind of lifestyle. And so at 12, 13, started using meth, and then I had a cousin. This is part of the reason that I like to tell my story is I get to talk about people that I ran into growing up, and that kind of saved this little kid who was just trying to live. And there's a lot of people who are gone or passed away, and I get to say their name and say this person played a big part in my life and helped me get through a lot of stuff, you know. And so I had a cousin, and he was like a brother to me, and we would go to California and stay there. He'd come to Denver and stay, and he was one of us. He was an addict, and he struggled with crack. He came down when I was 15 years old to live with us, trying to get clean. And you know, I was already messed up, meth, coke, and he asked me if I knew where to get some stuff, and we went and got it. And next thing you know, we were rocking things up, and off I was at 15 years old, full-blown crackhead. And man, that was one thing that destroyed me at that age, you know. And so I hit the streets. I left my parents' house because I was mad at my dad, I was mad at the world, and at that time my dad kind of started slowing down and not drinking, you know, and so but by that time I had all these resentments, and it was just too late, you know, and I hit the streets, and I started, you know, sleeping in parks, and you know, homeless, and I started staying at this lady. Her name was Shirley, may she rest in peace. She was this big obese lady. She sat on this couch, and she'd wake up in the morning. She had this little garden hose, and she'd put it in her mouth, and she'd go into convulsions like clockwork every day. She'd go into convulsions, she'd take it out, and she'd start drinking beer, peppermint schnapps, and Seagram 7 all day long, you know. She was like this old prostitute who, you know, went to prison for the mysterious murder of a John, blah, blah, blah. It was a crash pad for kids like me, you know, and so it was up in Commerce, and so I started hanging out there. It was a messed up place. It was a messed up place. And, you know, she loved me enough to laugh with me, give me a place to stay. And you know, and at some point they started manufacturing LSD. And so me, and at that time I met a friend. I tried to jump him for his weed, but it didn't go very well. We became friends, you know, and that's the way it is, you know. I mean, I'm not a fighter, and I've fought a lot, and I've got my ass kicked a lot, and sometimes I've won, you know, or whatever. But so him and I started living over at Shirley's, and he started dating her daughter and stuff, and they were manufacturing LSD, and so here I was, all cracked out. My cousin couldn't, you know, he had to go back to California. It just, you know, didn't work for him here. And I remember like a year and a half of my life, like wishing the walls would just stop breathing, you know, and melting, because I was tripping so much and I was so whacked out on crack, and I just wanted it to friggin' stop. I think that's the first time I wanted something different, you know. Started turning 16, and at 17 I thought, you know what, I gotta get clean, I gotta do something different. And I told myself I wouldn't drink because of my dad, you know, and so at 17 I said, I was this long-haired kid, you know, listened to Slayer, Suicidal Tendencies, and Minor Threat, and all of them, and so I thought, I'm going to go to California and live with my aunt, who is like a mom to me. She was my cousin's mom. I said, I'm going to live there, and I'm going to see if there's anything different, you know. Like I said, I was sleeping in parks and all that, and I moved to California, and I remember I dropped some acid, jumped on the Greyhound, and listened to Zeppelin's Going to California all the way there, you know. Got there, and same stuff, you know. I started hanging out with the people. I didn't think that like drinking at that time was using, and so I thought, well, told myself I'd never drink, but I'm going to start drinking, you know, because it's just alcohol and whatever. So I started drinking, and that led to everything else. And then, you know, up in LA, I used to go down there a lot. I found heroin, and I started using, you know, I started using some H, and back then we used to call it Huron, because once you tried it, you're fucked from here on, you know. And so we used to say Huron or H, you know, Nani knows that shit. But anyway, so I started using out there, and that was crazy, man, you know. LA for a kid, hitchhiking up and down the coast was a scary thing, man. You know, jumping into cars and going through a lot of experiences there, you know. I got picked up by a van full of skins once, and they beat the crap out of me, and they threw me behind the dumpster at this gas station, leaving me for dead. And, you know, I had a lot of experiences like that hitchhiking. But that never stopped me, you know. I still had to get down to LA, I still had to go do what I needed to do and stay high, you know. And I came home one day to my aunt's house in Oxnard, and she said, I'm leaving. All her shit was packed. All her stuff was packed, and she said, I'm leaving. And she said, you're not even my kid. I can't handle you. I can't handle my own kid. You guys are messed up. I'm out of here, you know. And so she moved down to Paris about 3.5 hours. You know, I was about 1.5 hours north of LA. She moved 1.5 hours south. But cutting through LA, you know, it adds a couple hours there. So she moved a long way, and I was on the street again. And you know, I couldn't live with, my cousin was married at the time, and he had 2 kids. Couldn't live with him because his wife hated me. She thought I was the problem, you know, all that stuff. And I ended up on the streets, and there was a beach out there. If any, you know, listener knows it, it's Port Hueneme Beach. And I used to go there, you know, and I used to crash on that beach. You know, I used to live there basically and sleep on that beach and cry and wonder what the hell I was going to do. And you know, when I got into a fellowship, they told me in my second step that I had to come to believe in a power greater than myself. And my first higher power was the ocean. Because I remember sitting there, and I'm telling you, it gets dark on that beach, and you meet some crazy people there. And it was pretty scary. And regardless, there was still this comfort. I would listen to the ocean, and that ocean carried my grandmother's voice, and I would listen to the ocean, and I just felt comforted, you know, like I knew somewhere something was going to be okay because of that thing. And so when I had to pick a higher power, I was like, well, I'm not going to do this white male Christian deity, you know, male-centric God. I'm not, you know, I don't know my native roots too well, you know, because I've been running from all that. And so I said, I'm gonna talk to the ocean. And my reasons were, it's bigger than me, it feeds me, because I like a lot of seafood and fish, and it could kill me. You know, those 3 things were my first beginnings of my belief. You know, it's bigger than me, it feeds me, it could kill me. And so I just started talking to and praying to this ocean. And so that's, you know, coming onto the road to recovery, you know. So I stayed there, and I was enrolled in school, never really went. And then there was an English teacher there. I can't remember her name, and I wish I did. She was a beautiful, beautiful lady, dying of throat cancer, and she could barely talk. She was still teaching. She lived in Ventura, and she, I would only go to her class, and then I'd ditch the rest of the time. And she said, if you come to my house and do some yard work, I'll pay you. And at first I thought, she's kind of crazy, because what Mexican does yard work, right? Who does yard work and they're brown? I don't get it. So I said, yeah, okay. So I would hitchhike. I would get over to Ventura, which is where she lived, and I would do some yard work, and we would sit in her backyard, and she would talk to me about, Charles Bukowski and Burroughs, and and all of these poets and music and all of these literature, and I was fascinated by that stuff, and she gave me something valuable. I'm still, I used to write a lot of slam poetry and perform it, but I don't anymore, and so I used to do all that crap, and I loved that stuff. And she gave me enough money to get a Greyhound ticket to come back to Commerce City, and so I bought a ticket, jumped on the train or the bus. Back then it was all Greyhound. We didn't fly anywhere, and so got back here. Shirley had died of mysterious circumstances or whatever, and I got here, and I picked up in the same place. It's like wherever you go, there you are, right? That's what we hear all the time, and this time it's going to be different. It's not the way it was. And so I think I was 20 years old, and I thought, all right, we were drunk one day, me and a friend, and I was like, you know what, man, let's just join the army. Let's just join the army and get clean. And he's writing down the time when I cuss so he can edit it out. I get it. It's all good. So
got a few.
So yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Anyway, so I said we were drunk, and I said let's join the army.
Like a CD.
So I said let's join the army. And the next morning I went to the recruiter's office, and he didn't show up, and I joined the army, man. I joined the army. I was was a medic in the army, and I was like, holy crap, I'm going to do something. And
always something with drugs.
Yeah, and so yeah, exactly. And so the crazy thing is, I was going into the military to try and get clean and get my life together, and the barracks were it was all one big party, man. Everybody was there, first time away from home. Women are first time away from home, having fun. I mean, it was all nuts. Everybody was drinking, and so, of course, I started drinking really heavily. I started using coke again. I started using meth again. Yeah, heroin here and there. But I was like, I got to stay away from that. And then, the only person that would write me up here in Commerce City was this lady, and she would write me, and I'd write her back, and my first duty station was Colorado Springs, Fort Carson, and I was like, damn it, man, I was trying to get the hell out of Colorado, and they send me back after boot camp and AIT, and they sent me back to Colorado Springs. So every weekend I was down here in Commerce City, and this girl, she was a squatter at the time, because everybody I knew was just like me. So they were living at this house, and they were squatting at this house, and so we'd go down there, and one big party, and she got pregnant. I ended up getting her pregnant, and so I was like, I gotta at least try and make a honest, woman out of her. I guess, I don't know, out of me, honest man out of me, whatever. So we got married. We had our first kid in Fort Carson at Evans Hospital, and then I was sent to Fort Lewis, Washington, and so my second daughter was born out there. And out there, the interesting thing is, one day up there in Washington, she wanted to come. I was just drinking, and we'd been there for about a year and a half, and she wanted to come and see her mom, because she was kind of like, she was kind of a kid that her parents really left her and just rented this trailer in Tomford Trailer Park, if anybody knows where that is, you know, yeah, in Commerce up there, just kind of left her, yeah, you know, and because the mom had a boyfriend that didn't want kids, the dad was too caught up with his new family, and so her and her brother were just there. And anyways, when her mom wanted to come back in her life, and she jumped on a plane to come.
You know what's terrible about me? I was thinking when I said, like, why did I think of that?
Yeah, it's crazy. But she wanted to come see her mom, so she jumped on a plane. I dropped her off at the Seattle SeaTac Airport, and I went directly after I dropped her off. I went straight to go pick up a hooker. You know, I mean, at that point, not for sex. Not that I'm above that. You know, I just did that because I knew she knew where the dope was. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Everything else comes later, but you know. So I just, and I had not planned to use, I just planned to stay drinking, you know what I mean? And that really shows how this disease, you know, I always say this disease is real. It's got a heartbeat of its own. It's alive and well, and it reasserts itself in this process all the time, you know? I tend to think that that I'm the one making decisions. This thing is in control, and anything that, you know, any little thing, crumbs that I give the appetite, it's going to grow and be a monster and show up one day. You know what I mean? And so for me, you know, I can't smoke weed. I can't, you know, just drink. I can't like feed it any little crumbs because it will show up and it'll keep me sick. And I've learned that through this process. You know, I bump my head a lot. And it's always whatever crumbs I'm throwing to the disease of addiction, you know, because this thing is real. Like I said, it's got a heartbeat of its own. So I was off and running again, you know, and then she came back and I was like, damn, you know, strung out again. And then we stayed up there, and then things started going bad, and then I got out of the military, came back to Commerce City, and started hanging out with some people who were manufacturing, and you know, that's one fix I wish I would have never fed, you know, because that was crazy. And so this was in the you know, mid to late 90s, and so back then it wasn't like it is today, and it was crazy, and I got caught up in all these big rings, and you know, people were dying all the time because everybody was using, you know, heroin, crack, meth, and people were dying, people were going to prison, and you know, I was my wife had left me, and I was in this trailer park on 13th and Sable, you know?
Yeah.
And we had been living there. My wife left me, and she took the kids, and I was manufacturing in there just a little bit, enough to like sell and stay high off of whatever. And I convinced her to come back. You know, I said, "Come back. I'm going to get clean. I'm really going to do it this time." And so she said, "Okay, I'll come back tomorrow." That night, I took everything out that I had, and I took it to this lab that we had in the Baker District. And put everything there, and then I just had enough, a little baggy enough to get high the next morning, you know. And she came back, and that morning I realized, I was like, I can't get clean, and she's here, and I just can't get clean. So I thought, in my mind, and I hear this a lot from people, I thought I just got to get her away from me because I'm going to destroy her life and mine. So I'm sitting there, and we're in the kitchen in the trailer, and I'm just like, you effing, you know, or you be, I can't stand you, you should have never came back, get the hell out. And I was just degrading her because I wanted her to leave, you know. And I'm filing for divorce. And when that was happening, I heard a knock on the door, you know, and my ex-wife looked and she started screaming. My kid, my middle daughter, was jumping on the couch in the living room, you know, it's the trailer. My other daughter's sleeping in the room, and next thing you know, the door busts open. And I ran over to where my daughter was, and I jumped on top of her, and I didn't know if it was the cops, if it was people looking for me, if it was people I was running with, like I didn't know what was going on. And I jumped on, I saw from the side of my eye that my ex-wife and my daughter were thrown to the ground. And I jumped on top of my kid, and I started kissing her on the cheek and telling her I'm sorry, and I started crying because I thought we were going to die. And then you heard all the guns, and they said, you know, turn around, turn around, turn around. And I had my daughter, I turned around, she was 5 years old, and she woke up, and it was all the Ninja Turtles, you know, and they had guns to their heads, and my daughter started shaking uncontrollably. I've never felt a kid with that much fear in their bone, you know, and they snatched her, and I just thought, what the hell am I doing, you know? And they snatched her from my arms, and they arrested us, you know, and I just thought I gotta do something different, you know, and so as they're arresting us, and as they're taking me away, you know, I just like got done talking all this crap to my ex-wife, and as they're taking me away, I'm like, I love you, bail me out, and she was just like, you know, F you, go to hell, you know, and so the good thing is they hit a day too late, you know what I mean? They just found a little bit of dope, they destroyed everything. And so she left, that was it. And I was back on the streets, nobody would allow me in their house. My parents wanted nothing to do with me. My sister wanted nothing to do with me. My siblings wanted nothing to do with me. You know, I remember my sister would say, one time she said, I hope you overdose and die. I just want you to die so that we can then grieve and move on because we're stuck, you know? She told me that, and it was just like, damn, you know, I didn't understand it then, you know? But she said, I just want you to die so we can grieve and move on. We can't move on with you like this, you know? And so I was back out there on the streets, and then my ex-wife had gotten this place on 13th and Xenia, you know? And so...
You went from one side to
the other, you know? And so I said, okay, I'm going to get clean this time. I promise I am. And she said, okay, I got a month left on my lease. If you can get clean, I will renew the lease. If you can't, I'm moving. So I couldn't get clean. I moved in, and I could not get clean. I really wanted to, but I couldn't. There was no other way. There was no other option to use. And so she left, and I stayed squatting in that place. I mean, it wasn't even squatting. I was just living in this, you know, I think I had like 2 pairs of pants, 2 shirts, and like 2 blankets, you know. And I was in that apartment, knowing that one day they're gonna, you know, rent it out. I'd sneak in and out through the window, and there was a point where the desire to live, just for a fraction of a, you know, a half an inch, outweighed the desire to die, because I wanted to die. I wanted to die, and I told myself that, well, let me back up. So my cousin ultimately could not get clean, and he really tried, and he couldn't get a job because of all of his felonies, all of his prison stuff. You know, nobody would give him a chance, and he couldn't get clean. And he walked into his house in California, and he put a gun to his head, and he blew his brains out in front of his wife and his 3 kids. And you know, I ran over there, and you know, his mom was the first on site, and she was trying to put his brains back in. I can't imagine a mother going through that. And I ran out of California. I said, I'm never ever stepping foot in this town again. I hate this place because of that, because of the homelessness, because of all the crap that I went through hitchhiking and the people, and you know. And I just said I would never ever go to California again, you know. And I left, and that's how I ended up here. But then, so fast forward, I'm in this apartment on 13th and Xenia, and I'm like, I don't know if there's anything out there. I need to do something different, you know, because I knew that my cousin got out that way, and I planned my suicide. You know, I hear people saying, you know, I wanted to kill myself, or I was going to kill myself if I couldn't do it. For me, that's where I was. I wanted to die, and I was ready to put myself to death, you know. And so I called this place, it was a TC called Synergy, and they said, yeah, you got to come in, we're calling your probation. And they felt very, I don't know, like they were coming at me, and I just didn't feel it, you know. So I called this other place, Stout Street Foundation, and they said, you know, come on in, man, we'll help you. And I went in, and they said, no arsons, you know. And I said, well, I have an arson. I'm an arsonist, you know. I love fire. I love watching shit burn down, you know, 2513. And I said, I pled my case because I said, I'm going to die. I'm going to friggin' die. And they let me in. They said, we'll give you a chance, you know. And every day I'd go to the counselor and I'd say, Cheryl, when am I going to jail? And she said, Osvaldo C, because you can have nicknames. You know. She'd say, Osvaldo C, get back in the group. You're not going to jail. And I did that every day for about a week. And then she called me into her office, and it was her and Dr. Wilson, the clinician that was there. And they sat me down and they said, Osvaldo C, today you're going to jail. The bounty hunters have circled the building and they're here for you. And I was like, damn it. So I went to jail. I stayed there for a bit. I got out. I went back to Stout Street. And at a month when I was there, at that time, when you hit your 30 days, they would take you to go get fingerprinted to see what came out. Well, in between the time I got out of jail and stayed there and finished my 30 days, we went to get fingerprinted and 5 other warrants hit, you know? And so I went back to jail. And I stayed there for a minute. And then I got out. And I went back to Stout Street. And then 2 weeks later, there was another warrant out. And I went back to jail. And then that time, it was the old Brighton County Jail. And I was sitting there for a bit. And then I got out. I think it was 3 months that time. And then I got out. And as I was getting out, one of the guys I got high with was getting out too, you know, getting processed out. And he's like, I don't want to get some dope and da-da-da. And I was like, holy crap, man. And even though I had some time clean at that time, I didn't have the strength to say no. So we got out, and I started walking down the street, down Main Street with him. And I got real scared, and I said, because he said, it's right down the street. And I said, you know what, man, you should go see if it's okay that I'm with you. And he said, all right, hold on. And as soon as he got like 3 houses into that block, I turned around and I ran to that Safeway that was over by the old jail. And I called my sister and I said, come pick me up and take me back to Stout Street. I can't, you know. And I sat there sitting underneath those payphones. She came and picked me up and took me back to Commerce City. And I knew that, you know, this thing was way bigger than me. So went through that, talked about all the abuse, talked about, you know, childhood trauma, talked about all that, because I knew it was like I got to just throw myself into this recovery to get, because I just got to do it, you know, and so I did. And then later, you know, you had to go to, I got a divorce, blah, blah, and then later had to go to meetings, you know. You didn't really need to go to meetings, but they wanted you to, and I went, and I connected, man. And, well, I didn't at first. I was like, nah, this ain't for me. And I left, and then I was going to get high, you know? Because what I've learned is the disease of addiction, you know, as an addict, I'll use anything to change my chemical structure. People, places, things, sex, gambling, whatever, you know? Whatever I can get high off, I'm going to. And at that point, I was doing some crazy stuff and some shady stuff, and you know, at some point, I'm going to throw myself in all these behaviors, and then life's going to get unmanageable, and then why not use? That's the thing that brought me the greatest relief. So I will go back to using, you know. And so, you know, I started getting sick, and then I ran back to the fellowship that I'm in, and I got a sponsor. I started working steps, and the quality of my recovery just changed and increased dramatically, and I stayed there. And then I was about 3 years in, and my grandmother, who was, you know, I haven't talked about her much, but she was this old Native woman, you know, and she was this beautiful, just Native woman, and she would always tell me, you're going to do it, you're going to make it. You know, everywhere, wherever I was, she was always just saying, you know, you're going to be okay, you know, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go see her, and I'm going to record her story, her life story, because she had an amazing life story, this lady, out of poverty, you know, a small village in Mexico, and, you know, no running water, and just this village. You know, she was a medicine woman for a village, and so it was like September, October, and then her birthday was in March. So I thought, you know what, I'll just go on her birthday. It was back to California, because that's where she was living, and I was like, damn it, you know, I gotta go back here and face a lot of these demons. And so January, she had had a heart attack in end of December. She was in the hospital. She was going to make it. Everything was fine. And me and my dad, because I got a good relationship with my dad after that, you know, I got a great relationship with my dad. So I said, let's just go see her now, you know. And so me, my dad, my older brother, and my uncle, who just passed away a couple weeks ago, we said, let's go. You know, we drove down to California. We got to the hotel, which was about a mile away from the hospital, and my dad and I go into the hotel, and my brother and my uncle go get something to eat. And as my dad's going in to take a shower, he's going to shower, and then we're going to go to the hospital. I get a call from one of my cousins, and she said, come quick, and I was like, holy shit. So I banged on the door. Me and my dad take off running. We're watching the hospital, and we're running. I'm calling my brother to pick us up. Calling. Nobody's answering. And then my mom calls as we're running, and I'm out of breath. I said, hello, and she said, does your dad know? And I said, no what? And she said, that your grandma died. And I dropped the phone, and we kept running, and my brother, my brother, the truck pulled up, and we jumped in, and we were silent. We went in there, and we got there to where she was at, and I climbed in bed with her, and I held her body, and I kissed her, and we sang to her like we do, and I just laid there with her, hugging her until they took the body, and I told her, thank you for always believing in me, and she never saw me clean, because I started at 11, so I learned from that experience to like always live in the blessings that we have and in the relationships that we have, because you just never know, and so I try and honor my relationship. I don't do that perfectly, and I try, and so I made a promise to her and my cousin who's buried out there, who, I loved a lot, and I made a promise to him that every year I go to California and I sit at my grandmother's grave, and then I drive from Oxnard, and then I drive down to Paris and I sit with him. Every year I've been doing that for 23 years, and I'm going back. I got to go back December 2nd is my uncle's birthday, his dad, and so I usually go around March, but I haven't gone this year. It's just been a crazy year, and so but I got to go before the end of the year. So I'm going to go the first week of December to sit in their graves and honor them and thank them, And so with my grandmother, I got back into our native teachings and practices, and I try and honor her in that way, which gave me a spirituality that I never imagined, And so then, I went to school. I got, a degree. I went back to school. I got another degree. I got a grad school. I started doing, working in the field. I was still going to my meetings and fellowship and doing everything I needed to do to stay clean and trying to live this, life, and not use. And I haven't, I've never picked up since then, and things just happen, and it's not me, it's recovery, and it's the fellowship that I'm in, and I just got to say that because I will jack things up. I will destroy things, man. I mean, my first few years in recovery were a nightmare, just me acting out in some crazy ways and just doing whatever just to feel crazy, because that's at the core. I'm nuts, and I need to surround myself with nut jobs like this guy, seriously, and so then recovery just happened, and it's never been me. It's always been the people around me. Tomas gave me an amazing opportunity. I couldn't do this, without him, without Nani, without anybody. And so it's always the people around me, the spiritual principles that we live in. Not to say that we have to float on air and do this thing perfectly, because I like to screw up, and I do, like to act out in certain behaviors and act stupid and, whatever. But, but I try, and that's all we can do. And life just happened. I got a really amazing girlfriend right now, and she's awesome, and she works a program, and I got my kids, I got, I live with some relatives, some animals, I started a nonprofit that's small because, it doesn't go anywhere. I don't got time for it, but I will one day, and and so, I don't know, that's and I'm here today, and that's not me. That's the power of recovery, because, as I was just this broken kid who tried to figure out how to live. That's it, sometimes I don't like telling my story, because I used to say things up in meetings, and then I would think, some people would be like, well, I never experienced that, or whatever, and it's it doesn't matter, I don't have to. There's a line in our literature that says that that we all have this shared experience. So it's like, I may not have experienced the same thing that Nani did or that Tomas did or that you did, yet when I listen to you guys, I can understand why you did that shit, that stuff, 1459, and I can understand why you do that stuff, right? Because I understand the thought process, So we have this experience, and my life is surrounded by nothing but addicts, and that's the way I like it. Addicts in recovery, and my whole life is about service. I do service work with, I don't even think Tomas knows this because I try and hide it from him because I'm always worried about shit, but I work 1426, and so I have a part-time job at Denver Public Schools, and I write curriculum for the Native kids. After work, I write curriculum.
Stuff. Like I didn't tell him one time. He goes down to Mexico City, like the mafia kills therapists down there.
Yeah,
and he's down there with his dad. And his dad's over there drinking tequila, and he's over at a damn therapy place trying after. Oh, they killed them all, so I'm filling in. Like, get out of there.
Yeah. Try and
get out of there. You know what I mean? But I'm never gonna stop you from doing it. But you know what? The comment on it makes sense. From where your grandma instilled that to you. You were the first person that I ever seen of my own race get clean. And I said I wanted that, and we're here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And we're here. We recreated a community. I remember sitting in that coffee shop, and I go, how much would it cost? You go, 150. Yeah. No, 110. Give me 80. Give me 90. I don't know. You know what I mean? We had that conversation, and I found it, and you're here, and our ancestors found that money.
Yeah.
And they keep finding money for us.
Yeah.
Everybody that's listening, we are not some textbook college-made organization.
No.
It's all heart and it's all recovery.
That's it.
It's a love for people in addiction to get clean.
Like, we will outwork anybody out there.
Yeah. Because we care.
One of the things you said.
That's it. That's me.
Ozzie, one of the things you said about yourself is you were like, I'm crazy. But, man, I've been sober now for 7 years as of September 11th, and all of the best people that I have met in the last 10 years have all been people that were in addiction.
Yeah.
They're the most real, down-to-earth, open, honest, loving, with experiences, shared experiences, and experiences that I would never think of in my life. And people who, sometimes I'll sit there and listen to somebody talk and be like, 20 years ago, I would have thought you were the most terrible, racist, sexist, homophobic human being in the world. I'm not talking about you, just guests that we've had. And
they still are.
No, and they've made such huge changes that now I would say you're one of the most wonderful, amazing, loving, caring, open-minded people in the world, where they used to be the exact opposite. And they're all people that have been in addiction who have just made the most tremendous, amazing changes. And they might be crazy, but they're crazy awesome.
Yeah.
And you fall into that category too.
Recovery, man. Nothing like it. Thank God,
For real.
It's, it's a crash course. Our gods know what they're doing.
Yep.
I wouldn't trade it for the world. Even the embarrassment.
Yeah.
The worst embarrassment makes me me. The mistakes that I got ahead that I got to pay for is going to make me even more. There's a thing that I always say. I was telling Julia was feeling bad out in Vegas the other day, and I was like, this. How I tell you, I have this thing about humans fly. You get up on a cliff. You have a cape. You have no superpowers. There's nothing whatsoever that's gonna help you up there. But you jump off that cliff anyway, and you're gonna hit dead smack on the ground and bust your face open. And that's how humans fly. But when you're flying and soaring through that air, and you got your arms up, whether you're flapping them and you're doing whatever, things that you're gathering and you're learning through soaring through that air on your way down to that ground. That's where it counts, man. That's where it matters, because you're always going to hit that ground. That's just life. You're going to hit the ground. You're going to hit the ground, no matter. You just got to have the courage to get up on that cliff and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have the cliff and do it again. But I would rather hold. What do we have? Almost 60 employees now.
Yeah.
60 employees' hands, and we're up on that cliff, jumping off that cliff together.
Yeah.
Crazy as hell,
Awesome.
laughing,
Awesome.
saying the most inappropriate jokes
Yeah.
on earth,
It's awesome. It's
and eating chicken.
Yeah. Love that.
Except Nani. Except Nani.
Yeah,
She doesn't
except
eat the
for me,
chicken.
no
Oh yeah,
chicken
she
for
doesn't
me.
eat chicken.
She doesn't eat the chicken,
Yeah.
and she doesn't get jumped in.
Yeah,
No.
that's right.
Neither one of us.
Okay. No, man, but recovery has been really good to me, and I've had a lot of fun in recovery. I've learned to travel, do things, and things I would never imagine. I mean, I hear people at meetings say, my best day high is not as good as my worst day clean or whatever. That's some crap, man. I've had some great times high as hell, but recovery, I would never trade it for any of that. You know what I mean?
You wouldn't
Never.
be here.
I wouldn't be here. And I still wouldn't. I know that at 23 years, I know that I'm not above a relapse, man. I can get high anytime, because my addiction has taught me that. I'll use people, places, things, whatever, to change this chemical structure,
I think Aubrey texted he needs some gas money.
Aubrey knows what you can do for that gas money. Remember?
Audrey Mahai, if you're just tuning in, Audrey is a previous guest and a best friend of Ozzie.
And want to thank Aubrey for when he came in to speak also.
Amazing story.
So what does your day-to-day job consist of as the Senior Director of Clinical Services?
Man, that's
Yeah.
a big task there. It mainly consists of not being able to get to my personal job duties.
Yes.
I don't know. I got a great team, and they help, support in any way. We got a lot to do, and a lot of discussions with the clinicians, with the navigators, a lot of discussions with the participants, always in there with them, talking to them, working on a lot of state regs, audits, Medicaid claims, just trying to make sure that that we're surviving, So I'm just part of the team, and that title is, whatever.
It's a cool title, though.
It's a cool title,
Cool title.
and I'm just part of the team.
So
That's
when-
it. Nani will tell you.
What happens when somebody first comes through the door? Somebody's coming through the door and they want to get clean and they're looking to you guys for help. What would they expect when they come see you guys?
Well, they're going to expect. They'll expect a friendly face. They'll expect, us. They'll expect a UA and a search. So don't try it. But no, they can expect that we're going to try the best to help them.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. You
That's
get
it.
a cup of coffee, you go see Marie.
Yeah.
If you want.
Get you something to eat.
Yeah. You want to lay down on one of the couches, kind of
Yeah.
get it together.
Yeah.
Just kind of
Exactly.
go outside, smoke a cigarette. Somebody's got a vape there or something.
Yep.
Just kind of get a feel of the place. We're right downtown. We're right in front of Alma Park.
Yeah.
We're not built on pink clouds with moons and canoes and rainbows and all that stuff. We're a screaming gorilla out in the front of the hood.
Yep. That's
Right
what
by
it is.
DICP. We're right next to the oldest and coolest community center, Chicano-born community center in Denver Inner City Parish, man. It's cool over there. We really, we know the neighborhood. Our neighbors love us. We love them. Even the people that live on the streets, they know us. They love us. We love them right back. We watch out for each other. It's if you think about it, I could literally be in tears of joy just sitting outside. Because, I drew this company on a bar napkin, looking at, seriously,
Yeah.
looking outside a window at Colfax. And I just didn't want to create some cheesy treatment center, man. Like everybody gets some cheesy, I'm gonna do this thing. Like, no, man, I want to create something that everybody can be part of. Like screw a tag. I don't care about a role. I'm just happy doing my part. Doing my part. I don't want to be a clinician. I'd be just most terrible clinician ever. Yes, yeah. Get it together, man.
Yeah. Not how you doing in the corner here?
Doing good. I just wanted to say, I think, Ozzie, something that you pointed out that I really love that you said that I've heard other people in long-term recovery say is that you do the same thing now that you did when you first started in early recovery.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's huge, right?
Huge.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that you do is hold people accountable.
Right.
Like I remember when you said, when we got him on staff, he goes, I don't know if I'm your guy. He was looking around. I don't know if I'm your guy. I go, no, you're the exact guy. Because, even with employees and stuff, he holds everybody accountable. Because at the level that we're at, it's just like, I even had my mother say the same thing your sister said. Because sometimes we're at that point. Maybe you just die so we can get over this pain.
Yeah.
And when you come to Tribe, we're the last house on the block. We literally took over the last house on the block.
Yeah.
They shut down, and the last house on the block moved over to our building in the back. We literally are the last house on the block now. You know what I mean? So it's really that simple fact is when you came aboard, we have to have somebody on the clinical side that says, hey, I'm not going to put up with it. This is who you are. Look in this mirror. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do now? Like there's nothing left. There's nothing. You can have some coffee, you can have a cigarette, you can think about it for a second, but if you walk down that road, there's jails, institution, and death left. That's it.
Yeah. I'll end really quick with my first friend, Clean. We got a job together. We were 18, 19 months clean or whatever. We got a job together. Right before that, he started getting high. And I know what dope looks like, I know what it looks like in your face. And I always say, I get this urge to lick somebody's face when they're on opiates, I just get this urge. And I knew that he was getting high, and I didn't want to, I didn't know how to address him, and how to say, dude, I know what you're doing. And it was all the excuses, I'm just sick, da-da-da. We were working at the same place together, and I showed up at work one day, and he was on the front of the door, and he was blue. And he had overdosed, and he was a shade of blue that I'd never seen before. I'd seen a lot of people overdose and die, so I don't know how long he was there. I don't know any of that. Then I told myself at that moment, I will never again be a part of somebody else's relapse. I don't ever want to feel like that again. I should have said something. And so I do say stuff. I do hold people accountable, and then I self-doubt myself. I'm an a-hole, and they don't like me, da-da-da, because I'm human, right? And I just don't. I always want to be honest and real with people, because I don't ever want to be a part of somebody's demise anymore. I've done that too much in the past for my own selfishness. Seeing that changed, and it was something that changed me for good. And so, I just want, I try and just address everybody and just be honest with them and hold them, accountable as I want to be held accountable. And it sucks sometimes because I am human and I don't want to do it, and I don't ever want to feel like that.
But that's that common balance of spirituality. You are that balance. You're the boss, you're the heart, you're the brain. I've never seen anybody put programming together like you. You took me and Dan's simple housing situation, sober living, and took it to another level that I could even dream. And accountability with recovery, you're a man of recovery, so it's a lot that I'm saying everybody on the air needs all that. I'm not just trying to promote a company, I'm talking about a true, realistic value of a man here. And that's something that if you were listening to the story, please go on YouTube and rewind and listen, or listen it again and again, because he helped me get clean. I seeing him walk in get multiple years with his kids. I was in Stout Street too, with barely even hours clean on what they called the Christopher Conway night, Christopher night. My head shaved, and I saw him go get his coin, and I thought it was staged. Seriously, I thought it was staged. I had no idea that somebody could get multiple degrees and have their kids back and not look all strung out and talk like a regular human being and have an education and be in a place like that and then come from where we're at and still have his head shaved. You know, but I mean, it was there, like, you know, I literally followed you all over the place because I was just that inspired. You know, you and Nathan Badia followed you guys everywhere because I got kicked out of that place. That was the two people that, you know, I did. Yeah, you know, I mean, and those were the two Hispanic gentlemen that I watched everywhere, because that was the only two people that I seen of my own Latin descent that kept it together. So until I could figure it out, I needed to go where they're at. And then I found Richard Tapia, and then I found more people, and I found more people, and I found more people.
We're here.
You know, and now we're here. And what's cool is, like, I'm doing the same thing that, you know, I got people that come up to me and I have no idea that I'm helping them.
Yeah.
None.
It's true.
Now I got that responsibility myself. Now Slim's got it. No idea how many people look up to you on a daily basis.
I'm just glad we're all here. I'm glad we're all here. Mahai, this is Sharing Our Stories. This is a program about addiction and recovery. It is brought to you by Tribe Recovery Homes. You can check them out at triberecoveryhomes.com. You can also give them a call at 720-60-TRIBE. That's 720-608-7428. If you're looking for a pathway to your recovery, it all starts with a phone call. It just starts with wanting it, really. More than the phone call, it starts with you want it, make a phone call, and we'll help you get it. We want to give special thanks to Caring for Denver. There are so many resources available to help with addiction and substance misuse recovery. And Caring for Denver is the organization that helps our recovery community stay connected to better assist our Denver community. For a list of Mile High resources and ways that you can find that pathway to your recovery, text SOS to 303-597-1015. That's SOS to 303-597-1015. And we've got resources available to you right now. I want to thank you for tuning in to us. This is Sharing Our Stories. Our guest has been Ozzie Cabral, Osvaldo Cabral from Commerce City. He is the Senior Director of Clinical Services at Tribe Recovery Homes. And thank you for your time. Appreciate you. What was that? And that means?
See you again later.
I love it.
Yeah, right.
Mile High. There's a lot of love in this room. It's the Sharing Our Stories family, and we'll see